Hello and welcome to this very special conversation. Insurance Decoded is a series that HDFC Life and the Money Mile have put together. Today we are going to put a sharp focus on health insurance. So if you like good health, if you want to make sure that you can afford the rising medical bills, and if you want to be confident enough of preventing and both giving yourself the best treatment if anything were to go wrong, which as we've seen does go wrong at any age group. It's no longer about you will get a problem, a health problem, once you are of a certain age. It could happen to any one of us. Well, two very, very special guests joining me today. Anthony Jacob. If there is one person who has seen the general insurance and more specifically the health insurance sector very, very closely since its inception, it is Anthony. So it's a pleasure talking to you. We've been talking for more than 2 decades now. So it's great to be having you here as well.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. And there is Subrat Mohanty, who's the Senior Executive Vice President at HDFC Life, who drives the health insurance vertical. So we'd love to hear both from HDFC Life and Apollo Munich. Anthony is the CEO there now. Of course, he's been in many, many roles. So as I said, he's more like the health insurance guru for us. Okay, first question, Anthony. I think when we first spoke, we were battling with issues like pre-existing illness, people not getting their claims. So I think there was a general sense of feeling that it's a pain to first get a health insurance cover and then to claim it if something were to go wrong. What are the kind of reforms? And I know they've been transformational, and maybe a lot of people don't know how transformational they've been. So could you initially just take us through a quick journey as you see it over the last 15 odd years of the health insurance business?
Yeah, sure. As you said, it has been a journey, a very interesting journey, and I would say a lot of positive changes have happened. But again, I'll be the first one to say that there's lots more to happen. But let me just walk you down that lane. When we probably met about 15, 17 years ago, one was, there was firstly, awareness was very, very poor. If you did research in early 2000 and you asked health insurance, people would say is equal to life insurance. That's about all they knew. So I think we've gone a long way. It's better in terms of awareness, but still lots more to do, and we'll speak about it in a few minutes. But I think the biggest change which has happened is from one size fits all, which we had in the year 2000, 2001, I think today with the introduction of private sector competition into this standalone health insurance and now combi products with companies like HDFC Life, I think we have really solutions sort of catering to different segments. That is one big change. So you can actually pick and choose what you want depending on your circumstance, right? But if you look at what are the other changes which have happened very, very quickly, from a time when there used to be claims loading if you put a claim, which is basically penalizing somebody for having actually used what you promised to deliver. So there's no claims loading. There used to be a time in the early 2000s when there was a dead end, which means after that file closed, you can't renew your policy. So lifelong renewals, that's a huge thing because you really need this health insurance as you grow older. So your file should never close. Then you had, if for whatever reason you didn't like company A, you had to either close that file and that's it. You couldn't really pick another one. So portability came into play. Then I would like to speak about things like you spoke about pre-existing diseases. There was a time not very long ago, example, diabetics. They could not get a health insurance money. Today you have companies who offer specific products for diabetics. Now we have companies who offer specific products for cancer. So disease-specific products have also come into play. So there is a number of positive changes, but most of all, the one which actually delights me is something which is which with this industry has made a change is on the claim servicing, right? If you go back into early 2000s, it took several days before you could even get a cashless approval. I remember going into a media discussion like this about 7 years ago, and I said, it takes, at that time it took about 24 to 48 hours to get a cashless approval, and that was considered to be of decent standard at that time. And I went on record saying, why can't it be like a credit card? Why can't an approval come as fast as a credit card, which is few seconds? I'm very happy to say from 24 hours, we and most of the industry has moved to minutes now.
Really?
Now, we've not yet into seconds, but a time will come, and I can promise you a time will come when we will move into seconds. So I could speak on and on and on, but I'm going to hand it over back to you
so
now.
much of stuff to talk about, but you know, Anthony mentioned about disease specific, and I think so before we discuss that a bit more, because on the life insurance side you were the pioneer in that. But let's step back a bit. Are you really seeing young people? Because we keep saying that if and when you're young, that's the time you should buy a health cover, and not when you're already in your 50s or 40s. Are you seeing a shift that younger people today are becoming more conscious of the fact that I need to have a cover? Because we've talked at length, even over the many years, that how low the health insurance penetration is. Of course, it's picked up, as Anthony said, but are you seeing a shift in the way young people are perceiving health now?
Right. So I think there are a couple of trends that we are seeing with the youth. The first one is young people are getting more aware about the need to take care of their health. So clearly, if you see all the leading indicators of gym membership, of people wanting to participate in runs and marathons, you do tend to see that number going up quite significantly. And a lot of that numbers are actually below the age of 30, which I think is an important leading indicator, because first you need to start taking care of your health. That's not really translating into the kind of penetration that we need to see in health insurance. A lot of that has to do with lack of awareness. A lot of that also has to do with the idea that the youth have about invincibility.
I was just going to come to that, if that has changed.
Which I think human beings have in general, but the youth is a little more, a little more invincible in their minds than the others. Some of that is starting to change, and that's where the entire digital platform, the ability to make the product really, really simple, and then the ability to really highlight the 2 or 3 things that really stick in their minds as to why they should be purchasing health insurance. But it's still very, very early days for us in terms of truly bringing the youth into purchasing health insurance. So I'll say that the leading indicators are good. People are tending to participate and get more and more health conscious, but that's not yet translated itself into purchase of health insurance yet.
This invincibility thing that Subrat talked about, is that a change you are seeing? Are you seeing more people who are younger coming and actually taking policies?
Certainly, if I look at our book, and our book is about 9 full years old now, and we have a majority of the people who are in our book on the retail side is in around the 30, 35 or 40, between 30 and 40 is what I would say. But what I would like to add here is, this young population is becoming more aware of the need, not just because of what they see in terms of healthcare costs or these inflation and various other things which are happening, but just think about this group of people. India is a young population. I think average age is what in the 30s, right? If you look at their family, they have parents who are in the 50s and 60s. They have grandparents who are in the 70s and 80s. Now, what is also happening to this young generation, which is raising awareness in a different ways, they are seeing issues related to their parents and grandparents, and then they can relate it to healthcare costs. So it's not a nice thing for anybody to get hurt with, but it is certainly bringing about awareness, because family members are also getting.
Sometimes the fear sets you thinking, right? We've seen a spate of cases right now in the very recent past where people have come out to say that I just had a dengue and I've been the double-digit kind of thing, and the fact is healthcare costs are going up, and it's time you realize that healthcare, if you want good healthcare, it's going to cost you.
Sure.
The other point I wanted to get you in, when we talked about the benefit of getting into a product at a younger age, can you give us some sense, what is the difference if I were to buy a cover at 25? And if I understand right, Anthony, this is, you get locked in at a price, right? When you buy a health cover?
No, it moves with the age.
It moves with the age, okay. But if I'm say 25 or 30 vis-a-vis 40, how much more could I be paying?
So, I mean, the difference between somebody being at 25 now and the same person and the same product being sold to another person who's 40 now, and I'm not taking how much it will cost when he becomes 40. That difference could be anywhere between 25 to 30 or maybe 35%. The advantages of buying it early really is about the fact that you are healthy, and therefore you will be possibly, getting in at a time when there are no existing illnesses. You get in at a fairly healthy stage, so you get a lower premium. And also the fact that as premiums continue to go up as you age, but the rate of increase will definitely not be at the same pace as the inflation in medical costs, for sure. And therefore, once you get locked in at an early stage, you will be able to get in, and even the future inflation of the premiums will not be at the same rate as the inflation of the medical costs, which in India is almost twice the inflation that we see in
Correct.
general.
In fact, we keep thinking of CPI as the benchmark, but when it comes to health or education, it's just completely different.
And it's 2 to 2.5 times, and that is not going to change if you see in the foreseeable future. So one of the important reasons is that you should be locking in early. You should have the view about taking this for a lifelong renewability, and then you should continue with that particular policy. The other interesting thing is, which is the fear part. I mean, we saw that with our cancer care product. We launched it. It was the first launch of a cancer care product, and we did very little advertisements at the beginning, but the word of mouth on that particular product, especially when people at a certain age, and most of the initial sort of purchase happened between the age of 35, 45, that kind of age segment. Most of it was driven by someone actually finding an instance of cancer
in their family
on this social circle. So that's really a big driver as well.
Okay, I'm going to take a few questions. Thank you, all of you, for writing in. Just seeing all the likes that are pouring in. Keep your questions coming. Parul Agarwal sent us this question. Very interesting question and a very direct question. Why do most companies try to play safe by declining cases with pre-existing medical conditions, even when the customers are ready to pay higher cost to cover themselves? Clearly, the fact that she's sending this in shows that the pre-existing problem hasn't gone away. There are instances even today where if I'm able to get an exclusion or pay more, I'm not covered. Why?
I mean, let me just take this question from a slightly different angle. Now, pre-existing diseases are certainly something which is being considered. Different companies look at it differently. Now, if you are covered by a group health scheme, right? Now the industry has overcome that challenge, and it is covered from day one, right? Pre-existing disease example, as I said earlier, if you were a diabetic, you are actually covered from day one, right? Our company will come shortly with the cover specifically targeted for cancer, right? So to a certain extent it is getting addressed, but as I said earlier, there's lots more for us to do in terms of this pre-existing. We do actually do underwriting. We do not decline all cases. We may have some conditions attached. We may have a waiting period for 1, 2, 3, 4 years. We may have a little bit of loading. So it's something which is very much in our to-do list to see if we can work towards a time when we can invite everybody on day one in terms of it. So it's work in progress is what I would say at this stage. But there are ways in which you could cover pre-existing. Like I said, a group policy would cover it from day one, and if it is a disease-specific issue which the person has, it's just a question of time, before standalone health insurance companies or general insurance companies actually widens the disease-specific products to cater to some of these.
Yeah, in fact, you do have disease-specific, because there's this question coming in from Ayushi, who asks, are there disease-specific insurance covers also available? So Anthony did touch on the diabetes product. You had cancer. I think you've also got something on the heart, cardiac, right?
So we've got cancer, we've got cardiac care. The idea was to cover the three main lifestyle diseases, starting off with cancer, which is more random an event and therefore should be the first one that somebody should be taking. Cardiac has certain dependencies in terms of heredity and things of that kind, but we've got the cardiac care product as well, and then possibly the diabetes care would come in. One point, and I guess Anthony, I would like to hear your views as well on that. On the fact of the pre-existing condition, I think there is a great opportunity in insurance and to work with reinsurers to actually take what we call impaired lives, and which is what this is. Impaired lives is a huge opportunity.
What does that mean? Can you explain?
By impaired lives, I mean people who have
already have something.
Yeah, something. But you can actually understand how that will sort of pan out over a period of time. You can manage it if you were to bring that person on board, and you build an ecosystem of wellness and support for that kind of illness. Because some of these might be chronic illnesses, but they might not be terminal in a very sort of a short-term horizon. And just leaving them out of that population is a huge opportunity loss. And we've been sort of working and also discussing within the industry that we should be thinking of managing impaired lives and providing products and covers for impaired lives as well.
I must say that there was a challenge thrown at me yesterday. At a discussion, this was specific to cancer, and somebody asked me this question saying, I was diagnosed with cancer, that person, and no insurance company could help me out. I said, that's true, ma'am, but I like what you just said, because that gives me an opportunity to actually go back to my office and put the challenge back to our product development team, saying, here is somebody who said, I was diagnosed with cancer and I just couldn't help. I couldn't get any help. Okay, and I don't know if that lady is one of your viewers, but I can tell you the first thing I did when I went back to office is go back and tell my product development, here is a challenge for you guys. Can we come up with a product for a person who is already suffering?
Right.
So I like these questions. I like these challenges. But do I have a solution as of this minute? No,
but we are evolving, we are innovating. We didn't have all this even earlier. In fact, since you made this point, Sandeep Srivastav has a question. He says, what is the suggested age to purchase health insurance? And this ties in with what you're saying. The answer is very simple now, right? You just got to take it the minute you can afford it. You can't be waiting to get a disease. And then, go and try and find how somebody can help you reduce your load. You just got to do it right now. If you've started earning, you can afford it, just go and take it. Is that right? There's no suggested age, right?
I will add that there is no particular age. Everybody must have insurance. I am actually suggesting to the government of India, why not make it available along with the birth certificate? Why not make,
for example, for motor vehicles, you have a mandatory third party and everybody goes and buys it because it's mandatory.
See,
and health is so much more important than owning a vehicle.
Nobody can say it's not happening to me, because we don't know what is inside our body. It can happen to a young baby. We all know what happened in 2 months ago. There was so much of issues around a particular case. It can happen to any age accidents. Which can hospitalize you. So there is really no particular age where people should start thinking. I really think that it's meant for everybody.
The other point, again, apart from the invincibility angle, a lot of people who are employed believe that whatever their employer possibly has for them as part of their group health cover is good enough. And it isn't good enough for two reasons. One, it might not cover you adequately, and second, you might not always be employed.
Absolutely, yeah. And you might be changing jobs, and I don't think that is portable yet.
No,
right? No. So you're not going to go to another job and say, oh, but I had a policy there.
So you have to again re-enroll yourself.
And especially now that especially the young audience that is watching this, we do tend to not stay in a place for many, many years anymore, right? There is a lot of attrition. We like to move around. We like to explore different. So group cover is an add-on, you would say, but not the only solution. You have to be on your own as well.
And what we are beginning to see more recently in the last 1 to 2 years is many of the employees of corporates are taking either their own cover as a backup, or they're taking a top-up cover. So the company might cover up to 300,000 rupees. Then they take a top-up of 7 lakhs over 3 lakhs. So we're seeing that increasing.
Sure.
But the other point I wanted to add, particularly to all of the audience here, is one of the reasons why health insurance hasn't penetrated as much as we would all like it to be is because this whole outpatient costs, which all of us incur, right? Be it pharmacy or be it doctor consultation or diagnostics, was not covered in the past, and hardly any insurance.
Is it covered now?
We have started introducing.
Okay.
At least our company has introduced a very recent product called Health Wallet.
Okay.
Okay. It not only covers outpatient to a certain limit, but it gets carried forward. The unutilized gets carried forward for lifelong.
I didn't know that.
Which means that as you grow older, you could be creating a reserve which you could actually use, assuming you retire from your work. You could actually use it for outpatient at that time, or could even use it for paying 50% of your premium at that stage. So in a way, it's a different feature, first time introduced, which could actually be interesting for the young population, where reserve is being created for a difficult time.
Sure. And in fact, there is an interesting question, and I'm going to ask a counter on that as well. Arnab Mohanty has sent us this question. He says, why can't we have a single health product which can help in any disease or any medical condition? Very interesting, especially since we have both of you here. And I understand that, while you're from the life insurance side, and, the medical covers there are very different from, say, what the general insurance companies offer. I understand that when it's a life insurance company, it's more that the minute I'm diagnosed, the payment is made to me, and then I decide where I want to get treated. Whereas I guess in the health insurance company side, general insurance, it is still about reimbursement. Though there could be innovation. So I want to understand, and I believe you guys have come together and come out with a common product. So does that answer the question, Arnab, as that are we getting to a stage where I buy one cover and it covers all of what you both have been saying for a while?
In terms of the combination that we have come up with, what we realized was, if you really take the basic financial needs and sort of put a hierarchy of it together in terms of needs, Maslow equivalent, I think at the bottom you'll find the key financial needs are health insurance, life insurance, maybe access to credit, easy credit, and payments. And we believe that all of these should be like the first thing that people should do. However, what was happening was, if you were to buy health insurance, you had to go and purchase health insurance with one sort of provider, and then you had to go to another one to purchase life insurance. And you possibly had to go through the entire journey twice, which had very common and similar features, and maybe even do a medical test twice over. And as we started speaking to the customers, we realized, and it's in some ways relates to Arnab's question, that if I were to bring these two together, you are in a single journey being able to take care of two fundamental financial needs, which are at the bottom of the hierarchy, which must be there in any person's portfolio. So if you actually go through this journey with the combination product that we have with Apollo Munich, you will be able to get pretty much every single aspect of your basic insurance cover in a single journey. And this is what we've done. So you can get all the diseases covered, you can have your life covered, and you can have all of that in a single journey. You can get serviced in any one of our branches, not just in, you can get serviced in any one of our branches, in any one of our touch points, and the claims and all other experiences will also be fairly smooth in terms of just a single interface, which will allow you to be getting both the services together.
We've made a small start in this combi, but there are so many other combinations which we are talking already, and the piece which we hadn't yet marketed along with the first product was the outpatient one, which was released by us subsequent to our combi release.
In fact, somebody is listening to you and has asked a question: is outpatient wallet cashless or reimbursed?
It can be both.
Both.
Yes, but because we have a wide choice of networks, right? If you go, and it's quite likely that they will be going outside of a network. For example, if somebody were living in a small town, they could go to the pharmacy there, they could and then put their bills together and send it to us for reimbursement. Or if it was within our network, then it would be cashless.
Okay, another question for you. Lohitaksh Guliani asks this question: has cashless insurance become the norm now?
Not yet. We'd like it to be, why not 100% cashless? As per our statistics, 60% of our claimants use the cashless facility. There's still 40% which prefer for their own personal reasons reimbursement. It could be because they are in a destination which and they didn't have time to connect to us, and maybe the bills were small, so they paid it out of their pocket and got a reimbursement. But we are moving in the right direction.
Okay. Here's a question for you, a very interesting question, which Ranbir Singh Dhariwal is asking. Is the industry planning a lifelong benefit product? We have lifelong indemnity plans. Also, can benefit products remain constant in price? There's a related one. Can we design a critical illness cover at age 30 which will cover me only from 75 to 100 years of age? Interesting questions.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
These people are thinking ahead. Right?
I mean, glad to know that people are thinking so far ahead. I think underlying both these questions is the idea that can I be protected against a future inflation of my premium?
That's right. That's right.
And which is one of the points that Anthony mentioned as part of his wallet product, and the combination that we are thinking. Is there a way to make sure that in the early stage of your life, you are purchasing this premium, you are purchasing this product, you are getting some amount of money which you are, kind of putting together in sort of a savings, vehicle within the product, or through a combination product, you have a savings vehicle attached, in a way that as you age and your possibly premium paying ability reduces, but the premiums increase, this savings vehicle can take care of that, increase, and in some sense maintain a pretty much a fixed premium for you over a period of time. And that's something that we are all sort of aware of, working on, and something that we can do. So, and another variant of that is, okay, if I get it at 30, can it start, can the real insurance start at the age of 75? Of course, why not? I mean, these are the kind of things that we are working on in order to make sure that you are protected against future premium inflation.
In fact, one question that I had for both of you, but Anthony, I'll shoot it to you first. I think the big concern people still have is they think it's a lot of hassle, right? I'm going to have to go through medical checks. I'm going to, where do I find an agent? Who do I go through? And maybe somewhere, and the cost part of it as well. Many people are not aware that how little it can actually cost you. It's probably a meal out in a month, which could actually be the cost, but a lot of people don't realize that. Is online therefore the way to go? Is it just simpler, faster, cleaner mechanism if you go online and put in your details? Have those checks and balances become more simpler, easier? Of course, you've got to have checks and balances. After all, you are, bearing a certain burden with the customer. But has the unnecessary sense of, complications, ease, has that changed?
See, online certainly does help from both sides, from a customer's point of view as well as from a company point. But can it take over completely? I think we have to be realistic in the space we are in and in the community we are in and the way people deal with this. There will be a population who would go down that street, but there will still be people who actually want somebody face to face. And there may be circumstances where you have to go offline. If you have put in a cross against something and you need a medical underwriting and you need a medical test, then you will go offline anyway. So I think there will be a combination on all of this, but technology will certainly help ease the whole process. Example, we have equipped our agents who earlier used to go with briefcases with brochures and pamphlets and paperwork from house to house to having a tool on their mobile phone or on their tablet, and they can sit across the customer and complete the transaction, issue the policy in 7 minutes, possible in their house. Okay. So you're getting the benefit. The customer is getting online plus is able to see face to face, and I think that combination will work for some time. Maybe the next generation will completely go online. But still, I think in a case like health insurance, until a time there are multiple platforms which can talk to each other, and maybe blockchain is a potential answer where the healthcare ecosystem is accessible to companies like us. So let's say the future is a customer gives the Aadhaar number, and I'm a great supporter of the Aadhaar concept. Of course, you need security.
We need another Facebook Live for that.
Yeah, we need a lot of security on that. But imagine different platforms are talking to each other, then the person may not even need to go for a health checkup, because I have access to his most recent health checkup anyway by press of a few buttons. So which means then online completely takes over. I think that's a few years more for that sort of technology to come in. But as we speak, I think a combination of online and offline will continue.
Will work. In fact, another question coming on the health wallet. What is the claim procedure? Is it day one cover for op expenses?
Yes, it is. So you have an indemnity portion, which is a hospitalization cover, for which there is a 15-day waiting period, as you would always have. And on the outpatient, it is day one.
Sorry, you were saying something.
On I mean, I'm a big believer on online simplifying things. Let's take our typical form, the insurance proposal form. It's the most sort of boring thing to ever fill up in life. Anywhere between 200 to 250 fields and all kinds of details. Now the thing is, if you take the 20 crore Indians who can purchase health insurance right now, and maybe that number is going to continue to increase, we believe that those 20 crore Indians are already having a digital footprint in one or the other ecosystem. And if you can tap into those ecosystems and you can actually pre-fill the form to the extent that you can, you will make this journey easier and simpler. And that's what we are doing. So in some of our online journeys, instead of filling up 250 fields, you can bring it down to as low as 40 to 50 fields. And that really makes it easy. And then from online, you can actually transfer the same intelligence, the same data gathering capability to offline as well. So this idea that I have to fill up a lot of things and then I have to give a lot of details and then I have to go out and do a medical test, I think a lot of that has already been simplified dramatically because of online. As Anthony said, as we build this network of ecosystems, and some of these networks are already built between us and banks and between us and some of the NBFC companies, the data flow becomes easier, and through APIs and things, it's no longer a one-year exercise to integrate data. You are actually able to make that entire journey almost a quarter simpler in terms of just the sheer effort that is needed to fill up forms.
There's one last question that I'm going to take. Smita Nerurkar, she asks us this question. It's a very relevant question, Anthony, because she says if a person declares the health issue while applying for the health insurance, then most companies decline the proposal. Each company declines on different reasons. How do we get health insurance for such scenarios? In fact, on the one hand, we say be honest. When you come with clean hands, as they say in the judicial process. Come and disclose if there is an issue that you believe you have. And then you don't really need to go and find out from some other sources. But on the other hand, I think her question resonates with a lot of people. And we did talk a little about it in our opening question, that when I go there and I say, you know what, I think I've got XYZ problem, and I'm okay if you put this on exclusion, I'm okay if you want me to pay a higher premium, but don't just reject my policy. Is that something where the industry still has to evolve? I'm not talking about you specifically now because maybe you've built in better processes, but as an industry, does that still happen?
See, one is on the declaration. My point on that is, you must always declare, what you know at that point of time, because people must not be misguided saying if they don't declare at that point of time, everything will be fine, because at some stage in the hospital, there will be some document which will come out, and that's the worst time to have a conversation with your agent or your insurance company. So it's always important to know that you must declare it. Now, the declaration will certainly take you to a different queue. There will be it could be a tele underwriting. Somebody might ask you questions on the phone. It could be as simple as that, and it could close, or it could lead to actually a diagnostic checkup or whatever it is. On the worst case, you may be told that at this point of time we don't have a product for you, which is what we used to say.
Which is as good as saying rejected.
No, so which is what we used to say in 2008, 9, 10, 11 for diabetics. Then we said, no, we can't cover you on Optima Restore, but there is a product energy. So I'm saying that we may not have solutions for every declaration, but the industry is moving towards a direction that we will cater to most if not all, over a period of time. And I think the industry is very they are aware that they have to make a difference. But as of today, there could be, I won't deny that there may be companies which are actually denying certain cases because it's it's beyond their underwriting tolerance level. Okay. But are companies just sitting with that tolerance level and not changing anything else? I believe the industry is changing. Every company is really looking at how can you make it more easy to cover the entire population rather than just limit yourselves only to the healthy.
I think the market will take care of it.
Yeah.
There is in India, the top
and
3
especially the portability that you talked about. So today, just to understand this, I can walk away from a company, existing policy, and move to another.
You can. You need to do it before renewals. Before the renewal, there is a certain time period specified. You can choose any company and tell them that I'd like to move to. Here is my existing policy details, etc. And
on that note, we'll conclude this session. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining me, Anthony and Subrat. It's been a pleasure talking to you. This is not a subject we can exhaust in the 40 minutes that we had, but here's to a lot more. And we look forward to keep on discussing insurance because it's not an option. It's a necessity. You need insurance. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you.